Well, the things you see when you don't have a camera. So today was pretty much just a routine hive inspection. Actually, the mission was to check on the hives with new queens in them and make sure that the queens mated successfully and made it back to the hive and were laying. It's pretty normal to lose about 10%. They get eaten by a bird or something on their mating flight. So I was checking them and started with this hive, and I wasn't going to make a video because I expected it to be pretty much just the same thing as the last hive inspection video, just opening up boxes and looking for eggs. But so I started on this one, and I was looking in it and seeing a lot of empty space that should have had eggs in it, and there weren't any. And I was going through the hive and not seeing anything and getting kind of bummed on the prospects of that one, thinking the queen didn't make it, which if that was the case I would just have to combine it with one that did have a laying queen. And finally I didn't see eggs, but I found the queen, and it was a beautiful, big, fat, locally mated, homemade queen. It's never been, put in a queen bank or anything, which stunts the development of their ovaries. That's why I'm not real keen on commercially raised package bee queens. I prefer to go into winter with my own home-raised, locally mated ones. And not only did I see her, but I saw her laying. So she must have just started, and it was a nice looking queen. So that one is all set. And this one, of course, is the abode of the invisible queen. We know there's already a queen in that one. And so I moved on down the line to this hive stand, to this one, and opened that one up and found no eggs, no queen, but I found at least half a dozen capped queen cells ready to emerge sometime soon. I don't know when. I guess it could be possibly a week or so. Usually when I make splits, I'll make the split, a couple, 2-3 days before the queens should be emerging out of the queen cells. And these ones possibly were just recently capped, but that is not what I expected. So that would have been another one that I kind of wish I would have had camera. That, along with the nice big fat queen I found in the first hive. And I don't know what happened in that one. The only way that they could have raised queens is if their queen from the queen cells that I put in there had mated and came back and was laying already, and then they, for whatever reason, didn't like that queen and started raising new ones from eggs that she laid. That's the only way that they could have gotten eggs to make queen cells with. So she must have got back and started laying way ahead of schedule for them to be able to have capped queen cells in there already. And they were in the middle of the frame. I can't remember if the general wisdom is that middle of the frame means swarm cells or supersedure cells. Usually they're either in the middle or on the bottom, and they say it's either one or the other, either swarming or just a supersedure replacing the queen. I forget which is which, but in any case they were in the middle, which I'm guessing was they must have for some reason not liked the queen from their queen cell and decided to replace her. And with all those queen cells in there, and also not being sure if their intention was to swarm, I hated to just waste those queen cells or let them swarm, either one. So I made a split, and I'm hoping that isn't a bit too greedy to make another split this late in the year. This isn't down south, this is New England, where you better be ready for winter by October. So I made a split, which is now it down here on the end of the line. And I made a strong split. I took 2 frames out of this hive, which, you know, it was fully drawn out, not a super high population from having no brood being raised for a month, but they did have, you know, a full hive of drawn frames. Whoops, I'm zooming in by mistake. So I took 2 frames out of that with at least 3 queen cells between them and put them in there. And I also took a couple of frames of mostly cat brood out of the hive with the invisible queen, which will even the score a little bit. That one has an advantage over the other ones because of having a laying queen in it for the entire time. So took a couple of frames out of that with a lot of cat brood, also some honey and pollen, and put that in the new split. And I'm hoping it'll do good enough and be ready by winter, which it should. Cutting it a little bit close, but not excessively close, I don't think. The biggest thing that I am worried about now is if I had taken those extra frames out of any other hive, I would have been confident that there was no queen on them, which is what you really don't want to happen. But being that that was the invisible queen, I'm a little bit worried about that. And I did my best to find frames where all of the brood was capped with no laying going on them, but I actually couldn't find any like that. Both of the frames that I put in there had a little bit of empty space and even some eggs, so hopefully she wasn't on either of those frames laying. There were frames still in the hive with more space for laying that she was more likely to be on, so hopefully she was still in there. If not, they will have a mess on their hands and they'll have to raise another new queen at this rather late date to be doing that. But either way, it should all work out. And then this one, the last of the hives that I was going to check on, blessedly I opened it up and very quickly found eggs on, I think, the second frame I looked at, so I packed them back up and left them alone. So with a little luck, now 5 of my hives should have either laying queens in them or these 2 with queen cells in them. But what an adventurous day in the bee yard. Kind of wish I had recorded the whole thing. Would have been a more interesting video than usual, but oh well, there's the update anyways on what's going on with them.